Okay, who are the best wrestlers in the UFC? As we know, wrestling is a big part of mixed martial arts, and a lot of wrestlers that were really good, they came to the UFC and they couldn't do anything. So just because you're a good wrestler doesn't mean you're going to have a great career in mixed martial arts, but you do need to have a base in wrestling because you can stop a takedown or you can get a takedown.
Oh, you're a wrestler now.
And one of the best wrestlers right now is Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal is undefeated. The accolades are through the roof. And he always wanted to prove to the world that the American-based wrestling is better than the Russian version of wrestling. Yeah, he wants to go head-to-head with Khamzat Chimaev. And Bo Nickal was talking this week about who his top 3 wrestlers of all time are in mixed martial arts. And guess who he mentioned? There wasn't a single American on the list. That is correct. He said Khabib Nurmagomedov, Khamzat Chimaev, and Islam Makhachev. All Dagestanis, Chechens, Russians, whatever you want to call them. None of them are American. So I'm going to give you a list of who I think are the top 5 wrestlers of all time in mixed martial arts. First of all, we've got to give a lot of honorable mentions out there to people like Matt Hughes, Randy Couture, George St. Pierre, that didn't even wrestle at high school or anything like that.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
We got Ben Askren, of course, he was great. Not so good in the UFC, but he was a great fighter. Chael Sonnen, the original bad guy. Dan Henderson, believe it or not, he was a very, very good wrestler.
I don't believe you.
Frankie Edgar.
5 minutes later.
I mean, the list goes on all day. But let's get into it. Who are the top 5? Well, first and foremost, if you ask me, we gotta have Daniel DC Cormier in there. My commentary partner, and of course, the 2-weight division champion in the UFC.
I'm a 2-division champion, baby! DC, I'm coming for you!
Light heavyweight, knocked out Stipe.
Miocic, the piece of
So it just goes to show, wrestling isn't enough. It's not the skills to pay the bills. No, you got to be able to land a left hook, a right hook, whatever the case may be. DC loves wrestling. He is absolutely obsessed with it.
This is baby offensive. Uh-oh, uh-oh.
And if I didn't put him on a list of the top 5 wrestlers in mixed martial arts, I'm telling you, I would be in for it next time I saw him. I love both of you. Why don't you just do some research on your comments? But the man deserves it. The wrestling that this man is phenomenal. If you see pictures of him back in the day in his prime, this man was an absolute beast. Sure, he didn't win the Olympics, but he was able to turn his ability into getting the clinch, running the pipe, hitting a high crotch, picking people up and slamming them on their head into becoming a 2-weight division champion. Remember what he did to one of my old friends, Dan Henderson. He threw him around all over the place. He did the same to Josh Barnett. For him not to be on this list is absolutely crazy. All right, number 4, we got to go with the Wolf, Boris Khamzat Chimaev, the undefeated Chechen, 14-0. This man is a force of nature. We know this. Undefeated, he's beaten Robert Whittaker, Kamaru Usman, Kevin Holland, Gilbert Burns, and he does it all the same way. Yeah, he's got a few knockouts on his record. In fact, he's got 6 knockouts and 6 submissions with an undefeated Chinese record. But the wrestling is just next level. And it just goes to show, you haven't got to be an Olympian to be successful at wrestling in mixed martial arts. Sure, Khamzat Chimaev was a very, very good wrestler, but he wasn't exactly an international legend. Far from it. But I tell you what, in mixed martial arts, it's unbelievable.
Kill everybody!
But when you look at Khamzat Chimaev, it's just a combination of a lot of things. Of course, hours on the mat, determination, work ethic, and strength. This man is strong. And the fact that Bo Nickal had him on his list is kind of curious because Bo Nickal did say in the past that his wrestling wasn't actually that good.
Khamzat Chimaev, you're saying that his wrestling is pretty mid.
It's trash.
But it just goes to show that Bo's being very humble and also being honest, because it doesn't matter how good you are technically. If you can take everybody down and control them, then you are successful. It's just like Dricus du Plessis. Might not be on paper the prettiest like Anderson Silva in striking, but holy shit, the man is the champion of the world and he's defending that belt. Moving on, we got to go with the lightweight champion, the one and only Islam Makhachev, who was also on Bo Nickal's list. Now, he wasn't an international powerhouse when it comes to wrestling, but he was the 2016 FAIS World Combat Sambo Championship gold medalist, okay? That's not an Olympic medal. I'm sure it's a very, very tough competition to win, but he was able to take his skills, transition to mixed martial arts. Of course, with the help of the late, great Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov and, of course, Khabib Nurmagomedov, he has crafted his skills into being the best lightweight that the sport has ever seen. And that's on paper. That's the facts. He's defended the belt 4 times, 27 wins, 1 loss, 5 knockouts, 13 submissions. Who is going to stop this guy? Is it going to be Ilia Topuria? Is that the fight that they're going to make? We don't know. Is he going to go up to 117 and fight Bilal? No, he's not, because they trained together once for 2 weeks.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
All right, number 2 on the list. Of course, there's so many great wrestlers out there. We haven't even mentioned the greatest of all time, Johnny Bones Jones. John Jones is an incredible wrestler, but he doesn't make the list. No. Number 2, I'm going to give it to the man that's in action in UFC Seattle, coming out of retirement, the king of cringe, the 2-weight division champion, and the gold Olympic medalist in wrestling. Yeah, that's right. Gold Olympic medalist. Now, just because you become a gold medalist at the Olympics in wrestling doesn't mean you're going to have a great career in the UFC. Kevin Jackson was a gold medalist back in 1996, came over to the UFC, didn't really have a career, granted, way back in the early days. But Henry Cejudo, he was able to do it differently. He was able to take over the sport, dominate. He was able to beat one of the greatest of all time, Demetrius Johnson, knock out TJ Dillashaw, and beat Dominic Cruz. Unbelievable what this man achieved. The Triple C, the king of cringe, one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time. And he'll be back in action this Saturday night in Seattle. And I'll be there. And of course, that brings us now to the top spot, to the number 1, the numero uno, the greatest wrestler of all time. It's not the godfather of ground and pound, Mark Coleman. It certainly isn't Chael Sonnen.
You absolutely suck.
And it's definitely not the Nigerian nightmare, Kamaru Usman. I still got it. There's a lot of great wrestlers. There is so many, we can't go through them all. What they've achieved in this sport, all those names that I just mentioned, they're incredible. But no one achieved what this guy achieved. It is Johnny Bones Jones, number 1 wrestler of all time. It is, of course, the Eagle, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Best wrestler in UFC history, I would say, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Obvious choice. You probably already knew I was gonna say that, but come on, let's be honest. How did he beat everybody? He did it with the wrestling, and they all knew it was coming.
Send me location, I'm gonna come.
And they drilled takedown defense, and they got hold of the best wrestlers they could, but they still couldn't stop it.
I want to take him down, speak with him, slap him. This is what I want to do.
Of course, Khabib retired at 29-0, undefeated. Some people wonder whether or not he even lost a round. That's debatable. However, his career and the impact on the sport, that is not debatable. One of the most legendary careers, and certainly in the humble opinion of Mikey B, an Englishman that couldn't wrestle if my life depended on it. That's a lie. I'm full of shit. You see my fight with Brian Stan? I was wrestling the shit out of him.
And up again. Wow.
But regardless, Khabib Nurmagomedov, the legend that he is, hope you well, brother. This is not
number 1 bullshit.
He is the greatest wrestler of all time. But that's the end of the video. Who's your greatest wrestler of all time? Let me know in the comment section, please. Let me know what you think of the list. Let me know what you think about Bo Nickal saying that 3 Russians are the best wrestlers in what might be an American sport. A Brazilian sport. It started off, it was called Vale Tudo, founded by the Gracies. But you know what? Now it's an international, worldwide sport. And congrats to all the men and women that take place in this beautiful sport. Speaking of this beautiful sport, I've got to go because I'm flying to Seattle. See you soon.